Good morning from Camp Gan Israel at Chestnut Hill. So this week we begin the final fifth book of the 5 books of Moses, which is really a repetition where Moses, it's called Deuteronomy, where Moses reenacts and reminds the Jewish people of everything that has occurred to them over the past 40 years. And hopefully, like a loving parent, he tries to nurture them and tell them where they made mistakes and how they could get better, what they could have done differently, hoping that not only are they going into the promised land, but that they will learn from the things that happen and they will become lessons and life experiences to them. And in the beginning, the rabbis tell us Moses didn't want to be too harsh with the Jewish people. And he begins by enumerates the places that he spoke by. And one of the places is called Vidi Zahav, which means and too much gold and plentiful of gold. And the rabbis say that was an insinuation of Moses to remind the Jewish people of the sin of the golden calf without directly telling them. He didn't want to embarrass them too much, but he wanted them to remember the mistake they made and learn from it. And the rabbi said that Moses also turned to God and said, what do you want from the Jewish people? And he gave them Dizahav, so much gold, so much plentiful gold. Did you think they weren't going to sin? Where was it going to head? And in a certain sense, well, the Torah is saying something very powerful. You know, we Jews have been through so much persecution. We've been through so much suffering. And in fact, just in the last generation, we lost over 6 million Jews to the worst anti-Semitism and to the evil of Hitler. But yet, since then, and in our abundance of materialism and all that we have and plenty, we've lost over 6 million people to assimilation, to indifference to Judaism. And when the Torah is telling us with the words of Adi Zahav is that sometimes the trials and the challenges of being a proud and connected Jew in times of abundance is even a greater self-sacrifice and harder than it is in times of persecution, in times of hardship and not having a lot. And the Rebbe, in his last talk, before he had a stroke and became sick, the Rebbe gave out a Hasidic discourse speaking about this, and speaking about the idea that God recognizes that the greatest challenge and the greatest hardship is to be a Jew and to be a committed Jew. When you're living in the land of abundance, when you have gorgeous homes, plenty of cars and vacations and 401ks and all the beautiful things that come with it, sometimes that's the hardest time to truly practice and be a Jew. And the Torah is trying to remind us that sometimes it's not about how much you have. As they say, it's not about your net worth, but about your self-worth and the values you have and the principles you have. And that's what Moshe reminds them, V'di Zahav, to remember what happened when they had too much gold. That sometimes it doesn't lead to the greatest things. There's a famous story of this grandfather, whose son comes back from Israel. He spent a year in Israel, and he wanted to buy a gift for his grandparents. And he bought them the most beautiful welcome door sign with their name in Hebrew carved out on wood. And the kid waits 1 week, 2 weeks, every week he comes back, and he's hoping that his grandfather has put up the sign. But unfortunately, each time he comes, it's not there. And finally, after a month, it's really bothering this kid. And he turns to the grandfather and says, Grandpa, why don't you put up this gorgeous sign that I bought for you and I spent so much money on? I would love to see it hanging from the door. And the grandfather turns to him and says, to be honest, I love the sign and it's so beautiful. But our door in our house is old and rickety. It's an old house. And I figured if I put up such a gorgeous sign, then I'm going to have to change the door. And then once I change it and I put a new door, I'm going to have to repaint our house. It's so old and doesn't look nice. And then I'll have to repaint the inside. And then I'm going to have to change all the other doors. And the truth is, I'm happy with what I have. I don't want to do that. And what's the message? The message is V'di Zahav. Always remember that what makes us who we are is not our net worth, but our self-worth. It's our values. It's our morals. It's following the ways of the Torah, as Moses tries in such a hard way to articulate to the Jewish people. Remember what God did to us. Remember the gratitude for what we have. Remember all the blessings we have. And remember that what makes us is our character. and our values and our morals and our kindness, and not all the things that we acquire materially. Have a great